I went to Scunthorpe on Tuesday with my colleague Richard Tice, and it was made clear to us there were 3 working days left. 3 working days left to order the coal and the iron pellets that are needed, otherwise the blast furnace shuts down. They've done it on a Saturday because they want to show the world, or, we're standing up for British workers or whatever it is. So, A, not let it get to this mess. B, never sold it to the Chinese in the first place, and I was very public about that 5 years ago. And C, there is a future for Britain.
When the self-anointed ringmaster of political spectacle stormed the stage opposite the UK's most visibly baffled frontman, sparks were guaranteed, clarity not so much. Nigel Farage came in hot, lobbing soundbites like flashbangs, while Keir Starmer froze in the parliamentary glare, defaulting to his trademark haze of cautious phrasing and meticulously spaced pauses. What followed wasn't a serious exchange so much as a feverish mashup of debate and dark farce, with Farage jabbing relentlessly and Starmer replying with answers so misted they struggled to exist. It was the confrontation nobody requested yet everyone rubbernecked, a political pile-up that somehow felt messier than a Brexit breakfast buffet, and every bit as indigestible.
The government is on the verge of stepping in to protect British Steel. Its Chinese owner is withdrawing from the plant, which it says is losing £700,000 a day. It means the taxpayer could be about to pick up the tab to save the business and the 2,700 people it employs in Scunthorpe. And if
we have to take it over, or we fail to be the only major country in the world that is not a primary steel producer. So all very dramatic. Tice and I went there in the middle of the week. We made a big statement. We said there were 3 working days left to save the steel plant. They've opted for a Saturday sitting for the drama of showing the working man and woman in Britain that Labour are on their side. But of course, they allowed Port Talbot.
This wasn't a debate so much as a circus of political theatre, stripped of grace and bloated with ego. 2 men looping through roles they've performed so often the worn edges of the script are painfully visible. Farage, the perennial provocateur, charged in like a stagehand throwing tantrums at imaginary clouds in a West End farce, all bluster and baiting, while Starmer delivered his lines with such robotic care you could almost hear him pausing mid-thought to check for typos. Both were clearly playing to the gallery, praying no one noticed that the act is exhausted, the dialogue utterly predictable, and the performance well past its sell-by date.
So much talk over the last few days about grooming gangs, or should I say rape gangs, and Keir Starmer today saying that anyone who's calling for a full public inquiry is jumping on the bandwagon of the far right. Wrong, Prime Minister. The vast majority of people in this country are absolutely mortified by what has gone on, but even worse, the cover-up we've had from the police, social services, and both Conservative and Labour.
It was never about truth, only the illusion of it, with neither man aiming to win hearts so much as survive the next bite-sized soundbite. The whole exchange felt so meticulously choreographed, you half expected a stagehand to wander in carrying cue cards reading "Look outraged" or "Pause for applause," yet the audience devoured it anyway. In today's political circus, being right matters far less than putting on a convincing show, and the real contest isn't over ideas, but over who can deliver the drama with sharper lighting, tighter framing, and the fewest ums.
We've got 2-tier policing and 2-tier justice. I'm sorry. And that's where we are. No, it's awful. When the attackers at Manchester Airport don't actually face any charges, and people who write horrible things on Facebook go to prison, something is very wrong.
Picture a man powered by bitter pints, sensational headlines, and unrestrained patriotism hurtling headlong into a conversation with someone who clearly rehearses his answers in the mirror while ironing his socks. That's not the premise for a new BBC sketch show. That's precisely what unfolded when Nigel Farage went full gladiator on Keir Starmer. No script, no edits, just raw, painfully awkward political theatre. One bellowing like it's question time after 6 pints. The other replying as if dictating his memoirs to an overzealous fact-checking robot, producing a clash so jarring it felt less like a debate and more like two entirely different broadcasts colliding on the same channel.
Reeve gave me a quote. I think it's quite appropriate. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Steve Jobs. Can we win the Mayoralty and Lincolnshire County Council? Can we do it? Well, let's hope we do. And I tell you what, we are very, very lucky with our opponents. It's what Napoleon said, don't give me good generals, give me lucky generals. And we just got to say a huge thank you to Rachel Reeves. Big thanks to Keir Starmer, because not 10 months in, they are making a complete and utter haul in.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe, because let's be clear, this wasn't a debate, it was an ambush masquerading as polite conversation. Farage charged in swinging, as if auditioning for Britain's least subtle man, all elbows and indignation, while Starmer clung to his talking points like a drowning man clutching a policy binder for dear life. This wasn't a clash of the titans, it was more like watching a bulldog bark furiously at a screensaver, loud, pointless, and strangely mesmerising. And somehow, amid the chaos, the posturing, and the sheer absurdity, it was utterly glorious to witness.
Minister tonight reacting to what has happened over the course of the last 48 hours. His conclusion, very simple, it's all the far right. As if they're causing all of the problems. No, the far right are a reaction to fear, to discomfort, to unease that is out there shared by tens of millions of people. Let me be clear. I don't support street violence. I don't support thuggery in any way at all. But I'm worried, not just about the events in Southport, but about societal decline that is happening in...
Because watching two entirely different political species collide on a live stage is British democracy at its most unhinged, and you honestly couldn't write better satire if you tried. Farage swaggered in like he was stepping into a pub brawl, armed with a pint of bitterness and 2 decades of pent-up grievance, while Starmer looked as if he'd just been asked to improvise a dance routine in front of the nation. The contrast was cinematic, one man red-faced and finger-pointing like he was auditioning for EastEnders, the other blinking like a slide stuck in PowerPoint. Then came the opening salvo, no warm-up, no stretching, Farage swinging immediately with accusations, barbs, and more recycled one-liners than a 2016 Brexit leaflet left to fester on the back seat of a black cab.
Hasn't got an earthly clue how to deal with it. We need to start getting tough. We need to use stop and search, regardless of the colour of the skin of anyone that gets stopped. We need tougher prison sentences for anybody carrying a knife. We need folks to get real. Because I tell you what you've seen on the streets of Hartlepool, of London, of Southport, is nothing to what could happen over the course of the next few weeks.
He tossed buzzwords like confetti, immigration chaos, lost identity, British values, even sneaking in a barb that Labour is so indecisive it would probably commission a poll before picking a lunch order, making it crystal clear he wasn't there to debate but to detonate. If his political style were any more middle of the road, he'd have a Pelican Crossing named after him and a sponsorship deal with Decaf. Starmer's responses were the verbal equivalent of elevator music, inoffensive, bland, and barely audible over the roar of Farage hyping himself for yet another tirade.
There's 25,000 constituents in Clacton, including 99-year-old Jim O'Dwyer, who flew a full set of missions on Lancaster bombers as tail end Charlie, as they're losing their winter fuel allowance, feeling the pinch, whilst at the same time we're prepared to give away a military base and pay £18 billion for the privilege of doing so.
Mr. Speaker, he talks of panic. The only panic is people using the NHS who know that under his policy he wants to charge them for using the NHS. And what he should say to the people of Clacton when he finally finds Clacton is that they should vote Labour because we're stabilising the economy and boosting the job.
If his political style were any more middle of the road, he'd have a Pelican Crossing named after him and be sponsored by Decaf, because his responses were the verbal equivalent of elevator music, inoffensive, bland, and barely audible over Farage revving up for another tirade. What unfolded was a symphony of awkward pauses, theatrical sighs, and egos louder than the microphones, until the moment that truly broke the internet. Farage hammering Starmer's legendary flopping on Brexit. Not just criticising it, but detonating it, casting Starmer as the human embodiment of an indecisive Tinder match, swiping left, swiping right, and sometimes just staring at the screen in baffled hesitation, waiting for someone else to make the first move.
Troops were put into Korea at the end of the Korean War. 71 years later, there are still 25,000 American troops in Korea. If we're going to make a commitment to Ukraine, number one, the army isn't big enough. And number two, how long is it for? What are the rules of engagement? There's a lot of questions here. And I have no doubt if Keir Starmer was to do this without a vote in Parliament, there'd be uproar.
Starmer, caught in the headlights, reverted to his signature, carefully curated vagueness, mumbling something about respecting the vote while never actually committing, which in political code roughly translates to please stop asking me this question. Then came the pièce d'assistance, the Farage smirk, that smug, self-satisfied grin that seemed to whisper, I could have been Prime Minister if I didn't keep quitting things, as he sat there like a man who'd just lobbed a pint across a pub and was patiently waiting for applause. You could almost hear the producers cheering behind the cameras, because this wasn't merely politics anymore, it was TV gold. Reality television couldn't dream up this level of chaos, tension, drama, awkward silences, one man practically vibrating with rage, while the other fought desperately not to sweat through his pinstripe suit, transforming the whole spectacle into compulsive viewing.
Are going to ban smoking in public places like beer gardens and pubs. They're obviously determined to close the last of the British pubs down. But it's all because we're going to be smoke-free by 2030. Really? Do you reckon we'll be drugs-free as well by 2030?
But here's the twist. As much as Farage played the loud bloke in the pub shouting at the telly, Starmer didn't exactly rise to the occasion either. No knockout punch, no viral one-liner, just a series of safe, pre-approved sound bites delivered with all the enthusiasm of a man narrating a ferry. Safety demonstration. The result was a bizarre political standoff. The loudest man appeared unhinged. The quietest looked half asleep, proving once again that this wasn't a debate at all, but political kabuki theatre, stripped of elegance and stuffed with ego.
All had a smile on Sunday when the honourable member said how cool it was to have the support of Musk, only for Musk to say he should be removed. Just a few hours later, that's the rough and tough of politics. And of course, we're looking at the question of funding more.
Two men replaying roles they've performed countless times, each praying the audience won't notice the script is fraying at the edges. Farage, the perennial agitator, charging in like he's auditioning for Angry Man Shouts at Clouds in a West End tragedy, while Starmer delivers lines so meticulously rehearsed, you can almost hear his inner monologue proofreading as he speaks. Meanwhile, Starmer seems allergic to taking firm stances on anything, except perhaps the exact angle at which his tea should be stirred clockwise.
We witnessed some extraordinary celebratory scenes outside Britain's prisons where, in some cases, serious career criminals were released. And this to make way for, yes, rioters, but equally those who've said unpleasant things on Facebook and elsewhere on social media. Does the Prime Minister understand? There is a growing feeling of anger in this country that we are living through two-tier policing and a two-tier justice system.
And here's the kicker. Starmer let it happen. He allowed Farage to dictate the tone, the tempo, the temperature, with Farage as the raging fire and Starmer the damp sponge, soaking up sparks without ever igniting one of his own. Even when he raised perfectly valid points about funding, policy, or the simple notion that Britain doesn't need to descend into a nationalist fever dream, he delivered them with the emotional urgency of a printer instruction manual, precise, correct, and utterly lifeless. Farage threw punches, while Starmer attempted to play chess with policy documents on a board already engulfed in flames, trying to pivot to serious leadership in a room where that's about as useful as bringing a Sudoku puzzle to a fireworks display. And when audience questions finally arrived, the moment he could have shone, his answers were so meticulously measured they could have been used to calibrate laboratory equipment.